Capricorn, I love it when this happens. I laid a reading for you and I started looking at it and doing the reading, and then some of the cards got scrambled up because of the way I've laid them on this sofa setup. But I remembered some key positions. Anyway, I picked them all up, started reading, laying them again, and the first two positions, your inner and outer world, are exactly the same, and the final position is the same. There were some additional cards, but this message has now sort of simplified. And so that's amazing because I know that it's whoever's tuning into this is really meant to hear it. And I think it's to do with a sense of surrender that you finally realize you have to follow a true path, and a path that's not quite your tradition, and what you've been grown up in. And instead, it's your path, and it ends in a kind of revelation. So that's amazing. And I'm going to pick out a card to illustrate what I'm talking about with your tradition, because the Pope card came up in... So if you want to stick around, that's what the reading's about. So in the original reading, this guy turned up, which is your inner self, turned up with the Pope. It's interesting to me that we've just had a new Pope elected, that Conclave was a big film, that there's this sense of what goes on hidden behind doors. I know everyone feels very positive about the new Pope. I'm not, dissing him. I don't know, anything about him. I do know that perhaps the institution is not all that it's cracked up to be. There's lots of contradictions in any of these big institutions. I'm not just having a go at the Catholic Church. Obviously nothing that gets that powerful remains that pure after a while. And look at this depiction of the Pope, who did turn up rather with your hermit, your inner world. Look at that character in the side, the sly one, that's behind these two acolytes who are sitting at the Pope's feet. And this is the Hierophant, effectively. And normally everything's a bit straighter. Here everything's a bit awry, and we've got the addition of this shady character. Pope doesn't look so sure. He's looking at us, but slightly at an angle. Normally he's dead on. And he's unsettled. And he's unsettled by this other presence. So I'm just putting that in your mind because this did turn up in the exact same position within seconds, and I shuffled them. I did a completely different way of picking them. So this time I rifled through and picked them. Last time I let them come out. So it's really interesting. But I think that is still in my mind, because I think we need to think about what is it in traditional ways that you've been taught as your spiritual tradition that you must follow. What is it that you're starting to realize might have an element of corruption in it? Now, it doesn't have to be something deep and meaningful and terrible. It just could be that over time a message has been corrupted, or there's too much power being used in the wrong way, or some sort of deep truth about the institution or esoteric knowledge is held from you. This doesn't need to be just a religion or a spiritual group. It could be your family, your set of ideals that you live up to. If something about that is you're starting to question, I think it's set you on this path of the wonderful Hierophant. He looks a little bit worried, and I love this deck because I would keep saying, I've only just picked it up again because a friend came over and wanted a little reading yesterday, and she picked this out of my decks and said she's an artist with a wonderful taste. So I thought that would be worth following. And all of these characters have really big feet and legs. They're really grounded and rooted, and I love feet, so I'm noticing them a lot. But he's looking a little lame, isn't he? Traditionally he's in the dark in the middle of the night, and he's only got this lantern, which usually in the Rider-Waite has a star on it. And so what we would say about you internally is that you're only able to see footstep by footstep by footstep. You're trying to find your true path, as opposed to this funny popey path, this Hierophant path that's starting to seem to be less straightforward. So that's you, and you could feel a little bit creaky because he's got it all bent over in that pursuit. And again, this turned up in the same position. How this makes you act in the outside world. We've got the it's the 10 of Wands. I thought it was the 10 of Swords when I first saw it. I wonder whether I got the 10 of Wands or the 10 of Swords. Previously, I think, let's assume it's the same. It's such strange, but I'm going to give it shades of the 10 of Swords because they're very similar looking, these two cards, and that's what was in my mind initially when I saw it, and I'm trying to read this intuitively, which I think is the best way. So if it was the 10 of Swords, I would say, and this is what popped into my mind in both readings, was you've surrendered. It's the minor to the death. You've decided, okay, I can let go. I can allow my true wisdom. I can allow through the knowledge that there is something awry, that I don't like the feeling of this. I'm going to acknowledge that there has got to be a truth beyond what I've been operating under, and I give up all resistance to it. And if we read this just purely as the 10 of Wands, there's a heavy burden now, because it's like when you step outside of your group think, that's quite a burden position. It is much easier to go with the flow, and you might be feeling at odds with everything around you, and rather burdened by the weight of this kind of revelation in a way. It might feel a lot, and you might not be able to see beyond that cluster of sticks. Usually we see someone walking with a huge bundle and it's in his face and he's missing the village, and he risks being so obsessed and obsessive and workaholic and taking all these burdens that he might not get to where he needs to go. So maybe you're taking on a lot of this kind of karmic path for your family, your community, to see what the truth is, and maybe you feel quite obsessed with finding the truth. I don't know. I hope this relates to somebody out there. In the basis of the situation, we've got the 5 of Wands. So the basis is that you're like one of those children that we see fighting in the Rider-Waite, competing. You're in it to win it. Your energy is unleashed. You want to know the truth now. And even if you're young, you're naive in your search, you're prepared to put the battle in. And there's a gamification, there's a sort of fun side to this. That it might, with that obsession of the 10 of Wands, that it might feel rather sort of delightful. This new unconventional path that you're following. In the recent past, we've got the 4 of Pentacles, stuck. Feeling like you want to hold on to where you are at and that you don't want any movement. And that would probably relate to you feeling rather attached to that old ideal that you've been woken up from. And maybe you just couldn't bear to move on from that idea because it meant too much restructuring in your head. The potential outcome is La Judicia, the Justice card. I've just been to Siena, Il Campo. In Il Campo, there's a beautiful piece of art. Lorenzetti, probably said that wrong, the artist's name. It's from the 1300s, beginning of the 1300s, I think. And it's called Bon Governo, the Good Governance. And it has in it 3 pictures, one on either side of the wall. One is a depiction of a perfect community. One is a sort of bad community gone rotten. And in the middle, when you walk in, you see this figure particularly rules in this triptych of images. So you see all the virtues in front of you, and she's depicted twice. So justice is perceived to be that important if you want a good community, a good town, a good to rule your nation, your area in a good way. And so it's interesting that it's turning up here as a potential outcome. Maybe there is something that's rather unjust about the way that you've your community operates, usually, that there's something unfair written into the rules that you're starting to see that's making things not good, like that kind of sneaky figure in the Pope. card, the Hierophant, there's a sort of element of corruption potentially that needs to be weeded out with this Justice card. Justice needs to be brought in order for things to be harmonious in your community. She really is important. She also relates to Libra, but here in her beautiful angelic form, she's kind of more human than she appears in the Rider-Waite. I like this depiction of her. I can see her concentrating on weighing it up. So this is a potential outcome. Your wisdom leads you to this kind of sense of fairness and readdressing the environment that you came from. Coming up in the near future, we've got the 8 of Wands. It's like you want to spread the word about what you've discovered. This is messages, fast and furious. This is goal actions that are all going in the same direction, but very aligned messages. It's like the true word. It's as if now that you find out this truth through your ability to go on this solitary pilgrimage with the hermit, you now want to make sure that everybody gets on board, or you spread the word. You feel that you need to do that to your community, whatever that means to you. In your attitude, we've got the 8 of Cups. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's not that you want to trash everything in your community. No, you love it. Like that image that we see in Rider-Waite where all the cups are still standing, but the red cloaked figure, not unlike the Justice here, has turned its back on us and has left the cup standing, but is walking off into the mountains a bit like the hermit on its own quest, on his own quest to find what he needs to do differently, either to completely leave his life as it's been on everything he's loved before, or to reinvent the way that he relates to it. So in terms of relating to your tradition, your heritage, I don't think you want to get rid of all aspects of it. I think you just need a new way of relating to it, a new paradigm shift in the way that you look at things. Your environment is the King of Pentacles. It's a solid one. You come from quite a kind of rooted, solid environment. I'm just looking at his image. Yeah, foot crossed, looking away from us. I sort of feel like I've met this character at a drinks party somewhere. I'm thinking of strange, a living room I used to find myself in when I was in my 20s in a big house, lots of people, a sense of play acting, adopting an identity, the house seeming to sort of expect that of us, make us raise our game, make us a bit, I mean, sort of hints of Saltburn, hints of the play acting, it being something that you're not. That's what this is bringing to my mind. It's so strange. The relaxedness of him. I suppose he just looks like someone you would meet at a dinner party. Look at him with the leg across. He's very happy in his wealth. He's displaying it behind him. His feet are relaxed. Yeah, so your environment is one that you feel very settled in and it's very established. And this could relate to your heritage again. But it feels relaxed, but also a bit performative, because that's the story that came to my mind. A little bit performative, a little bit as if your environment demands a role of those people that inhabit it that might not be entirely authentic. And this goes back to that search for this authenticity in your culture, in your wisdom, in your spiritual heritage. There's a play acting, there's a donning of something that isn't entirely correct in your environment, but it's not bad. It just needs, you to reinvent it somehow. In your hopes and fears, sorry, reading it so we've got the 9 of Wands. You want to defend yourself. You want to defend yourself against falling back into those old habits, but you also want to defend your wisdom and your true self, your ability to be your true self, the ability to shine for exactly who you are, because in that Rider-Waite, he's got the bandage around his head and he feels so defensive. There's a sense in which, you've gone through such a battle for this. And let's not forget that the 9 of Wands relates very heavily to the 9 of the major hermit. So that pilgrimage has cost you it's made you a little bit defensive, but you are the wounded healer. So this is your hopes and fears. You want to bring this wisdom through all this hurt, through understanding the kind of gaps in your culture. You want to bring it back to your community. And that is very worthwhile. And we see you internally on that quest anyway. So it's amazing. And in your final outcome, the justice now is raising its stakes even higher. We're at number 20. We're at the judgment card. There is an epiphany. And I do think this relates to you being able to wake up other people in your community. These figures raising from their watery graves, looking slightly shocked and horrified here, because normally they're just silhouettes in the Rider-Waite, so you don't really see what their emotions are, and their hands could be quite kind of joyful up in the air, and there's small ones, little people and big people. Here they're all quite mature, and there is a sense of kind of complete shock. It might be that when this revelation is brought to those around you, whether this is your friends, your family, there might be a sense of shock and dismay. And maybe there are parts of you that feel a bit shocked and dismayed about something that you're finding out about your culture. And when this doesn't need to be so close to you, it could be almost a collective experience where we're starting to sort of peer beyond the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. And we're starting to think, wow, things are a little bit more complicated than we realized. And some people will find that waking up quite hard. I'm going to cap it with one further card. Let's see if there's anything else that wants to come out. Sorry, these are all the wrong way around. So, just got them back to front. Let's see. It's a beautiful reading, Capricorn, but it's a big old mission that you're on. And it feels quite joyful, really. It's just a very firm waking up, and it's double confirmed because because the same cards came out before. And just to affirm that no. Oh, sorry. Picked up. I thought that was the 10 of Swords that we were getting. No. It's the Two of Pentacles that we're getting. It's interesting because these two pentacles here, he's got one in his hand and one up on the air, in the sky that he's displaying. It's interesting that this, as a comment comes through, it's juggling two realities. It's making a kind of alchemy from that. It's not a kind of particularly stable position because we need you to get into the 3s and 4s to create stability. But I can't help be quite pleased to see that in your environment, the bit that's displayed, the bit that's kind of performative in a way, that's not so much really you, but that you put on display for other people, is being mixed up with the other reality. They're much more equitable here. There's a sense of fairness. Both realities in play, things being mixed up. I think it's not that you're walking away from everything in your community. I think you're walking away from the toxic bits and you're mixing into your new reality what did work about your community group think that you grew up in. I hope that helps. See you again.